Are you easily offended?
Because if you are, you should probably stop listening.
Are you interested in the bizarre and unusual?
Like serial killers?
Do you scream as loud as you can? They're already scared. Maybe they stab you just once. You know what I mean? Then run
Or
off.
maybe they fucking kill you.
And aliens? I'm thinking aliens.
Yeah, probably. But if you're gonna take my sperm, at least make me happy. Don't forget about the paranormal.
Why do you look like that?
Because I'm from hell, bitch!
Why are you from hell?
Come on strange, drunken journeys with us. Your host, Tomcat, a.k.a. Tom Thompson.
And Billy Kirby.
As we drink and discuss the creepy and weird sides of life. Strange Brew Podcast. That's Strange Brew Podcast.
Okay, Tom, relax. Strange Brew can be found anywhere you can find a podcast, though.
From Apple Podcast and Spotify to Podbean and many more.
So crack those beers or the booze
and light those doobies
because it's about to get strange.
Thanks, fellas. That was another trailer from more friends Amy and I have acquired from up north. All the fellas from the Strange Brew podcast. Hey, listen, we keep it strange around here too. So keep it weird and go check out the Strange Brew podcast. Now, back to your Bewitched banter. No con artists here. We keep it 100, including some explicit content that is not suitable for all listeners. You have been warned.
Welcome! You're listening to Bewitched Banter.
I'm Krista, and I believe that people are inherently shitty.
And I'm Amy, and I tend to believe that people are naturally good.
But ironically, I'm a super believer in the supernatural and all things spiritual.
And I'm a total skeptic.
We're best friends, and in this podcast, we're seeking to explore and understand each other's perspectives with deep dives into the spooky, the spiritual, the magical, and the mystical.
And some straight up spoofs.
Today, we are covering con artists, but more specifically, female lady cons.
Should I say girl power?
Maybe. On my story, absolutely not. But
yeah, I'm assuming hence the theme of the podcast. Maybe we should change our theme. It's just really we cover shitty people.
Shitty people.
Shitty people, that's what we do.
That's our name of the game.
Just like welcome to shitty people.
Shitty people town. Well, I'm actually really excited because as you and Corey were talking last week about this new trend, simultaneously me and my girlfriends from home were having the exact same conversation you guys were about how this obsession with true crime has morphed into cons. Like
I'm here for it.
It's everywhere, right? So we have...
Let's steer away from the murder.
Yeah, you can't handle the murder.
No, I guess I can, but I'm kind of liking this new genre of just con artists instead of people's lives being taken for our entertainment value.
Right. However, financial burdens can be feel like a life taking too, you know, with some of these assholes.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Tinder Swindler motherfucker.
I would like to know, and I don't know if you researched it. Do you know if those girls from Tinder Swindler got their money back from being on Netflix? They didn't yet.
Oh, from being on Netflix? That I don't know. Sorry.
I would assume they would pay them out for the story.
I would hope so. You know, to get the story rights. That's the only right thing they could do, you know.
I mean, how many people have watched it? I would hope they made like $1 or $2.
I hope
off
so.
Of it.
I really do too, because now as we talked to think about this last week, this guy's freaking up for his own another hustle game, doing a dating show. Yeah.
Oh. Sorry.
Speaking of con artists, we may have just gotten conned by a person in Amy's neighborhood.
Well, you said he was a Jehovah's Witness, right?
I don't know if he was Jehovah. He might have been just promoting a business.
Episode idea.
Yeah.
Let's cover
Wild
them.
shit.
I don't know much about them.
I grew up with one friend of mine, and she was really cool, but at the end of the day, I think she had some psychological issues because of that religion. So
I'm sure there's lots of great stories.
Anyhow, yeah. So, yeah, back to cons, though. We were talking about Tinder Swindler and the women, if they got paid out from Netflix. I think they had to have, we'll have to look that up, but as far as him paying them back, no, because he's not legally obliged to.
Well, I don't think I kind of agree with that in a legal stance because they were verbalizing that they were making the purchases.
Yep, and that speaks exactly to what I'm going to cover in con artist history, is where cons make you think it's your idea. They don't take anything from us. We willingly give it.
That's
whatever
true.
It is. And that's the scariest goddamn part about cons in my research here. And if I'm going to get to this in more detail, but like, you think about people being manipulated, like those women, they willingly, just went to the ATMs, they helping out a friend or a guy they thought they loved, So unfortunately, legally, they can't do anything.
Oh, I found the information. Okay.
Oh, nice. What'd you got?
Well, I'm not reading the whole article, but the little quick Google search said, how much did Netflix pay for Tinder Swindler victims? 150,000 shekels, which I have no idea what that is.
What is that?
But $47,000.
They were in like Eastern.
Oh, wait, no, that's not right. Tinder Swindler's victims rake in over 100,000 pounds of donations on GoFundMe.
Oh, at least they're getting something from the public.
Yeah, with a goal of raising 600,000 pounds.
Okay, I got a minute to go.
Yeah, but they got 100,000 pounds already, so...
Yeah, something.
Anyway, we'll have to look into that later.
Yeah, but there's two schools of thought of, like, yours where you're like, it's kind of not victim blaming, like you said last week, but, like, they willingly gave it, as we said, or there's the other school of thought where you just feel so terrible for them that they got manipulated. So those are probably the folks donating, I
mean, it is sad regardless.
Oh, it's awful.
And to think, like, you're falling in love with... I mean, even it's the emotional, like, thinking that you fell in love with someone or you finally found the guy of your dreams.
Yeah.
And it's a big disappointment.
Yeah. Oh, my God. That's even more cruel to me as a single lady of the bunch of, like, playing with someone's heart. Obviously, money sucks, too, but, like...
I know, but I think I could get over heartbreak before I could get over 250,000 pounds of debt.
True.
I would take the heartbreak, even though heartbreak is awful.
Yeah. Sure sucking is. Tell ya from... present living experience. Okay, so anyway, back to the media though, covering these things. We got Elizabeth Holmes. That shit was insane. Mm-hmm. We got Anna Sorokin, Daddy, why me money, and we got Chameleon podcast, which I fucking binged and loved.
What is it?
Incredible journalism. It's called Chameleon.
Oh, I've never heard of it.
And there's two seasons now. The first season dealt with the Hollywood con queen, and it was actually a male impersonating female Hollywood executives, getting actors to go to Bali on a fake premise that their movie would be produced.
Wow.
And
I'll have to listen to this.
Yeah, it was so well done. And it actually was bubbling up right in the start of COVID. So there's some like COVID references there from the journalist. But anyway, that's by Campside Media. Incredible work. And they actually caught the guy through their investigation.
Very cool.
Their investigative work, yeah. And then like we said, Tinder Swindler. More specifically, as we said today, we covered lady cons. So we're going to be doing the likes of, we're not covering them because it's been covered too much, but ladies, con artists similar to Holmes and Delvey, or Sorokin is her real name. And that said, what exactly is a con artist? Why are we so obsessed with them? Like, why is this such a trend? Mm-hmm. And how can we avoid being fooled by them? Because Lord knows I could have used that a while back in some things. All right, so I'm going to share all that with you now. So in my research, I actually learned where the term came from. Do you have any thoughts, or do you even know where it came from?
A con artist?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say maybe from, is it from England?
Mm-hmm. Also, you know the answer, huh?
Well, I'm just guessing because you said something about I was using a British accent and you kind of gave it away. And then I'm assuming maybe they were actual artists back in the day that would con maybe the royal family. I have no idea.
Oh, that's a really good guess, actually. But no, very astute guess. But no, it actually came from Britain in the 1800s-ish, and there's a lore about a man who would just go up to people and say, do you have the confidence in me to return your pocket watches tomorrow or next week? And
like as a test of like, do you have good faith in people?
Yep.
Okay.
So do you have the confidence in me to be a good person.
Oh.
And so he started this guy started this scam for a while and stole dozens, if not hundreds, of pocket watches from unknowing Britons or British.
But again, like you said, they just willingly gave it away.
Yep. And that is the whole heart of this history that I'm going to get into. I never knew it stood for confidence, but it makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Oh. Well, obviously, if you want to be a successful con artist, it all comes down to confidence.
Yep, exactly. And then again, on the flip, do you have the confidence as me in a human being? Do you have confidence in basic humanity to trust me? Are you a good person to believe that I'm a good person too? And that's how they con you.
Oh, can I tell you? Sorry.
Yeah, please go. Yeah, I thought
this reminds me. This girl I knew in college as an art experiment, which I have no idea why she did this. She gave every person in her class a copy of her key to her house as like an art experiment to see if she could trust them to have her key. Thankfully, nothing bad happened to her, but I was thinking she was opening the Pandora box.
My mouth is like, and my eyes are so bugged out right now.
Isn't that weird, though?
Nobody got in.
No one did anything, but it was my friend's girlfriend at the time. And I remember him telling me that, and I was like, hell no. Because that could go so poorly.
So bad. They might know people that want to steal. They might want to steal themselves. They might want to rape you. Fuck no. Absolutely not. I listen to, obviously, a lot of true crime. So these are all the things, scenarios going through my head.
I mean, it was like her class, so I'm sure it's full of good people, but still. It's just not something I want to play around with. It doesn't seem that, what kind of experiment are you trying to do there?
Right. I respect the bravery, rather. But
anyway, that reminded me of that, like, having confidence in people.
As you know, I don't, because I do believe people are assholes, as we know, and this is the whole half of the premise of the show anyway. And, you know, by the way, do you still think people are good, generally?
For the most part, yeah.
Wow, I haven't tainted you yet, my friend. I mean,
I think there are several bad people out there, but I like to think there's more good people out there than bad people. But
yet you wouldn't do the key thing.
Yeah, because I'm not going to toy with fate, and I'm not going to go blindly trust people. Like, I'm smart enough to not blindly trust people, but I feel like most people have good intentions.
And ironically, I'm the one that's been conned because, of the psychic story. But okay, so we have this pocket watch guy going through Europe or Britain at the time, stealing people's shit, and obviously had never returned them and had no intention of ever doing so. But that's where the term came from. And it's just wild that, I really like the take you took on it. Like, you have to have confidence to pull this shit off. You have to. I mean, look at all the people we mentioned at the top.
They're like almost like sociopaths, like the amount of confidence they do have. And I honestly don't even think, I almost think like Anna Delvey's story, she didn't think she believed in it so much. I don't think she thought she was lying. I think that's a lot of con artists too, that they truly believe in their lies.
Yeah.
Like they have like a delusion on reality, I guess.
They have to. Or a lot of the research I came across was it reminded me of your magician's history, to be honest, because a lot of it is they know exactly what they're doing, which I think makes them psychopaths, yet they do it anyway. I get those damn two mixed up all the time still after researching it. But you know what's scarier is that if they believe their lies, that's one thing, right? They have their own delusions. That's psycho or socio. And then the other one where I think, and I'll always say this, is worse when they do it despite knowing they're wrong. Like, that's it. Is gross. So it's such an abuse of power, you know. Also, the moral of our podcast: uses of power. That's what we need to rename, rebrand. Yeah, done. Get it together. So okay, now we know the name. Like I said, all the videos I watched akin on the con artist to magicians, ad men, even so, like advertisers. Okay. Marketers, same thing. Hustlers. And politicians. They all were mentioned. as being a form of con artist because they have studied human behavior so well that they have the confidence to manipulate people into exactly what they want them to do.
I can see that.
This was a really good TED Talk I watched on from TEDx Berlin, actually. It's called The Superpower of the Con Man, and it's by a magician named Alex Conran. Ironically, he has con in his last name. But
I'm assuming if he's doing a TED Talk, he's not a con artist, though.
he actually came from that world. So magician, you know, and he used to do like presentations on TV and acted. But because of his skill set in being a magician and sleight of hand and the distraction that you covered in that episode throwback, the very first thing on this list is misdirection. Right? And that's what you covered in magicians. Like, oh, look over here.
Yeah.
Shh, nothing over here. Nothing to see here, even though that's where they're doing their trick.
Yeah.
And their sleight of hand. So that's number one. So this guy, Alex Conran, said to look out for these 5 things.
Okay.
To know if you're being conned. So one is misdirection. He says, think pickpocketers.
Okay.
Right? So like there's signs that say watch out for pickpocketers. And that's a very actually helpful thing, believe it or not, for pickpocketers, because when the person sees the sign, then they're going like this, and by doing that, you then identified where all your money is and valuables are.
Oh, so they're like touching their belongings.
Yep.
For people who can't see you at home.
Yep. Oh yeah, I'm like touching my boobs.
That's where you store your possessions.
Oh, and that's it is.
My cleavage. I got all my cash just right there.
Woo! I'm so wealthy, y'all. Yeah, right. Ain't no cash between those. Sorry, fellas. You can put some cash in between them if you want. Cash money. And then also magicians, like I said. So classic of the smoke show, right? Like where you're poof.
Yeah, like deception.
Deception. The second thing that Mr. Conran, that's so weird. I wonder if he changed his last name.
He might have
to fit this narrative, or his character. But Alex Conran says number 2 on that list to look out for is opportunity. Or what we should look out for as consumers, or as if these are things that the con is looking for. So cons know this, right? That people are so obsessed with opportunities, and we want to be the first to do something. We want to be the first in on it. Ground up, right? There's like that cachet of like being, excuse me, I think I'm dying. Also, guys, it's been a rough morning. Let's put it that way. So they're looking for opportunity.
That seems like a really general statement to miss opportunity. What do they mean exactly?
So they're looking to get, so if anyone's hustling you saying this, you'll be the first, this is it. Like if they're
kind of like, oh, you need to buy this now is your only option of like opportunity ever to buy it.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that goes right nicely into number 3. So combine opportunity, like a scarce opportunity, with time pressure and scarcity.
Okay.
So again, that's a classic marketing move. I mean,
well, 100%.
You know,
there's only 2 of these left, even though there's like 20,000 of them
flash
left.
Sale. Yeah, exactly. So classic move there. The con artists use that. So, you know, if they're pressuring you into doing something in a timeline that's a too good to be true opportunity, hey, guess what? It probably likely is. Also, Amy bought a timeshare once. She was conned into buying a timeshare.
Hey, I wasn't conned.
Sorry, I had to call your ass out on that.
Well, that was after a few drinks at the pizza festival, and I thought I wanted to go on a vacation.
Well, first of all, red flag number 1. We're at a pizza festival.
Hey. I was sad I never, or this girl, which I don't talk to anymore, she had the coupon, so I never could use it. My timeshare.
I wonder if she ever used it.
Probably not.
Probably not. Oh my god, that's hilarious. Okay. Number 4, Mr. Conran says to look out for, or to be aware of, rather, because this is how the cons do it. Social compliance. So think of security guards. They're nothing but a man in a motherfucking suit, but they have security on it. So that indicates to good humans some social order. Like, this is how we act. We're going to comport ourselves because there's a security guard over there, even though they're not necessarily a trained police or law enforcement personnel.
Okay.
Right? And so they can use guises, as I'll get into in my story, to make themselves present as somebody who would make you want to align with social compliance.
Kind of like The Shrink Next Door.
Yes.
That was hard for me to watch,
Oh, that's
actually.
a great one to add to the cons trend and media. Yeah, it was tough, wasn't it?
No, it really was hard for me to watch. Like, emotionally, I was getting so mad. I was like, just stand up to him.
Oh, the Will Ferrell made me cry. I mean, he did a stellar job. And so the fifth one that he warns us about or alerts us to are just general behavior as humans, right? And how we get conned is social proof. So what is this? This is, think about when you're taking social cues again to see how we behave. But if a con artist knows how you behave in certain situations, or all that they have to do is change your environment to manipulate you. So a good example he gave was people at airports where you are getting, you haven't even called your flight yet, but yet people start lining up, and then more people start lining up, and more people start lining up. Their environment's changing, so they start to panic and react to the crowd and what other people are doing.
Okay, I can see that.
Con artists use social proof as a tool to fool people. Point taken there, right? So there's two other strategies as well, and this was from another. It wasn't a TED Talk, but it was a really good, well done video on psychological traits that they look for in victims, that con artists look for in victims. So Maria Konnikova, pardon the pronunciation, Konnikova. Okay. Got it.
That works.
Maria Konnikova, she wrote 2 New York Times bestsellers on the confidence game and another one called The Critical Thinking and Mastermind, How to Think Like Sherlock Holmes, and finally another book, The Biggest Bluff. So she studies this psychology and like we got a con man right outside our window. Amy's husband's being silly. So she wrote 3 books basically on the psychology of people's ability to be manipulated. So Maria Konnikova wrote 3 books on how to be conned, or how humans do get conned.
Okay.
The biggest theme she has for this whole video series she did was something called Machiavellianism. And that's a big word. I actually never knew what it was. I've heard it referenced to before. Do you know what it is?
I've heard of it too, but I couldn't tell you a definition.
I couldn't either, and I'm kind of
glad. I ain't that smart.
I wasn't either on this one.
I don't use big words.
So essentially what Machiavellianism is, it's the kingpin of all cons, right? That's what it is. It's founded in this theory, this social theory. Essentially what it is manipulating people to get them to do exactly what you want them to do or behave in a way that you want them to without them even knowing that they're being manipulated.
I mean, that's like the ultimate con, kind of like you said.
Exactly. And so that's what Machiavellianism is. She also talks about how people hate being manipulated. She uses a good example of those who've invested in like Bernie Madoffs of the world. So who are conned by financial means. Like that's
financial.
I'll see you next Tuesday.
Do you have any financials? I don't think you do.
Hey, listen, Tuesday.
Because you don't know how to pronounce the.
See you next Tuesday. No, that's how I thought about Tuesday. P.S. The guy that.
Well, you have to explain what you're saying, people.
So, okay, sorry guys. Friday night we went out for the first time since like 5 years ago. The before times. It's about like fucking 10 years actually.
Yeah, did feel like it.
But we went out with old friends. Ironically, almost to the 2 years to date. Right before COVID happened, the same exact group of friends. One of them was calling out, bringing to attention Amy's British accent. And on the show, how she says Tuesday. I'm going to say it American. Please say the word.
Well, that accent's how I learned to say it. So my British parents say Tuesday, and I still say Tuesday. And we were talking about it because he's like a big Liverpoolian football fan.
That's right.
And he was talking about how people say Tuesday, and I was like, "Oh, that makes sense. I've said that my whole life." And it didn't really click. It didn't really register with me. That's why I say it that way.
Right. But now I'm never going to unhear it when she says it.
Well, now I'll say it the American way. Tuesday.
No, gut be you. So the first guy that I referenced, he was British as well, and he said he had an example in one of his things that said Tuesday, and I was like, oh shit, it's real, it's a
Full
thing.
circle.
It really was. All right, back to Machiavellianism and all that dark shit. Konikova talks about how people hate feeling manipulated, and again uses people who use bad investments who were conned that way. So like Bertie Madoff of the world. And
well, it's like it's almost like even when you find out you overpaid for some kind of service, or no one likes that feeling. So like you feel like you're being taken advantage of.
Yep. And the second we realize we are being taken advantage of, we pull the fuck out. So it's the art behind the con to realize to not ever let the target get to that point.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So even when we do, to this woman's point, being taken advantage of sucks. We all know that. I shared that story. Very personal. Oh, are you protecting me? Ella doesn't like that I was conned either. Okay. Oh, why you gotta start shit, Ella? So being manipulated obviously really sucks badly. And as we know, I think a big problem with con artists is that people don't come forward because they're embarrassed, right?
Well, it kind of reminds me of the criminal hypnotist episode when I talked about people who claim they're being hypnotized in Indonesia.
Right.
But really it was just because they were embarrassed that they got conned.
Yep.
But they wanted to find like some kind of, I guess, like excuse.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are conned and don't come forward.
Yeah, because we don't like to A, be manipulated, and B, let people know that we have.
Well, it's like there's a shame you carry with it.
Exactly. And that's what the Chameleon podcast talks a lot about. And it actually interviews victims. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars these people were out. Mm-hmm. And actually lives in danger too in some parts of Jakarta, which is the worst part of it all, right? Like, fuck the money at that point. It's your life, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
And then I shared my story in Soulmates episode where I was conned by a psychic. And I never told anyone until that podcast. Even Allie's like, I never knew that about the red car. And I was like, I didn't tell nobody. That shit's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's really fucking embarrassing. So again, humans hate being conned. And the second we know that we are, we're going to be like, nope, bye. Or we don't tell people, which is therefore an in for con artists to keep getting away with it and keep doing what they do.
Well, it's like a shame because you feel like you're the fool of the situation.
Yep, exactly. Yep. There's also two tactics that Konikova mentions. It's called the foot in the door and the door in the face tactic that cons use. Any guesses on what these might be?
So there's a foot in the door, and then what's the other one?
Door in the face tactic.
Door in the face tactic.
And don't think literally.
I'm thinking foot in the door that you get you're trusted in the circle, and then maybe in the face is like you make people think like you have a status that they need to reach, but they can't reach it, but then they're striving to be like you, and then you con them that way.
Very, very good guesses and close. For foot in the door, almost exactly. So what you do is you do gain their confidence by starting with very small asks, like, oh, hey, can you pick up Ella today for me, or can she stay here tonight? And then let's just say I never came back because that was my ultimate con. Like, I just left her with you.
Yeah. People do that.
And that's foot in the door. You start small and then it goes little gradual because you've built their trust or your mark's trust. And then again, very much like the one you just mentioned, the shrink next door.
Oh, yeah. When he was like, well, the shrink next door, for people who haven't watched it, the therapist takes advantage of his client. At first it's like, oh, he goes to visit him at his like beautiful house in the Hamptons for the weekend, and then he ends up like living,
moving
and taking over his house. But yeah, same thing.
That is the perfect real life, because unfortunately that actually happened to this poor man. Also, phenomenal podcast, by the way. It came from a pod. Just stellar journalism being done actually on this whole topic. Maybe that's why we're so fascinated, because we're being presented with it lately. But like, we're interested obviously in our abilities to be manipulated, like, because we don't want to be manipulated. So like, hell no, we're gonna say like, oh, that could never be me. Guess what? I'm here to tell you it can, because it was me. It can be. So that was foot in the door. Door in the face is you ask something so outlandish at first, so like just wild, and then you expect your mark to say no, because you know it's like, hell no, they're not going to say it.
It'd be like almost like if I came up to you and I was like, I want you to take me out on a yacht all weekend.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Anna.
I mean, I want
my daddy doesn't have a yacht.
I really want a yacht outfit, an excuse to buy one.
Yes, that was perfect. Love it. I can't do it as well as Amy does, but yeah, it's very good. That was not her weird Russian German accent at all. And then you come back and ask. The mark actually comes back to you, and because they feel so guilty for being a bad person, quote unquote, for saying no. Because we don't like to say no to people most of the times too. So it's also a right up con men's alley or con people's alley, because they know this, and then they ask you for what they really wanted you to do in the first place, something that's small.
Because you said no to them once, so then they'll ask like a more reasonable thing.
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
Yep.
That makes sense though.
Isn't that crazy?
Mm-hmm.
So the example that she gave there was actually a pretty good one. She's like, being teachers, she was like, oh, can you just watch my class of like 28 kids and teach for me? Instead of and then the person's like, hell no, I'm not going to fucking do that. That's a big ask. Or sorry, take them on a field trip.
Yeah.
And then, but the ultimate ask was instead just speaking to my class about your expertise.
Oh, okay.
So that was like one example.
Okay.
Not as extreme, obviously, as others, but it just shows it's just, again, manipulating and preying on people's ability to not feel like they're not following the code of conduct and being good citizens, right? And that's the whole crux of it all. Because we're all so worried about what we look like and how we're perceived that saying no is a no-no. No pun intended. Okay, so again, today we are talking about lady cons.
Yeah, I was going to ask if we're going to get into the specifics of ladies.
We are. Why are we so fascinated? So we know we're so fascinated with cons, right? We don't want to be manipulated. We don't want it to happen to us. And again, it gives us comfort in seeing other people like, that wasn't me. Probably, right? That sad situation. But why are we so fascinated with lady criminals?
Because I think, well, I don't know if you were asking me.
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
Because I think most women in society were seen as being maternal figures, where women tend to take almost like lower paying jobs because we like, not all women, but a lot of women do end up having these lower paying jobs where they're taking care of people. Let's think about like social workers, teachers, people who work at daycare, working at an elderly place. Like a lot of those positions are women.
Yep.
And it's the natural, I think it's part of our instinct to try to help and nurture people. And we want to see people grow and get better. And so that's why it's like against our nature.
Absolutely. And that goes into exactly this narrative that I'm going to cover of why we're like, no way, women can't do that. Yeah, we damn well can. So you better watch out. You better watch out.
The bitch is coming to con you.
So before I do that, though, I do have a personal anecdote, and I may or may not have shared this with you before, but did you know that my dad worked at a prison, a women's prison?
Wasn't he a teacher?
Yeah, he taught at a women's prison in upstate New York, and I'll never forget him saying how women are psychological terrorists.
I could see that.
And how they're natural con artists because of that.
Well, your dad also had to raise two girls,
True.
so he probably
He
probably went through it firsthand.
A little bit. And it's funny, then he was joking. He's like, yeah, mom cons me every day. She conned me today into going to Retablo with her, which is like a antique art store in Cave Creek. And
Corey'd probably say the same. Amy.
And he's like, yep, mom conned me today.
Yeah, Corey'd probably say the same.
So anyway, I just thought that was funny. But I think to my dad's credit and point and experience, we are we'll fuck you up here. Like, men can be all violent as they want to be, right? But we I think, make better cons because we know how to mess with your emotions and your mind.
Well, women are usually better at reading emotions.
Mm-hmm. I agree. But the reason why we are so obsessed with them, women criminals in general and women cons in this particular episode, is because it comes from a very misogynist narrative, no surprise, right? Like women are supposed to be all those things you said by nature because we're taught to be.
Well, it's in our evolution too.
There's some evolutionary things to it,
Yeah.
for sure. There certainly is, and this article does talk about that. But where it gets problematic is that in profiling, so this goes back to 1985, criminologist Eric Hickley, he published the first, or at least what he thought was the first, academic paper on female serial killers, which I kind of touched on a little bit in our female our serial killers episode, excuse me. Anyway, in his research, he kind of came to a really dangerous assumption that women are incapable of this quote-unquote depravity that is needed to create, and this is more specific to murder, but regardless, it still goes to being conned, right? To get someone into a place of being murdered, you have to get them to a place of manipulation, obviously, right? Anyways, he claims that women were not capable of committing such horrific crimes, and he even said that women's crimes were to your point, men were for sex and women were for money, and that hasn't always held true. But what happened is we got the myth of the devil woman, and that again, us trying to be held to this standard that we aren't necessarily capable of. So anyway, misogyny aside, it comes down to another psychologist said, according to this, we kill for money, or we are manipulators for money, where men's motives is sex.
Well, that reminds me, I think this part is probably not actually real, but in the Anna Delvey show, like when they had the men on trial, they're like, she wasn't even that hot. And she wasn't even that kind.
I don't remember that part.
They definitely, one of the guys was like, she wasn't even very nice and she wasn't even very hot.
Wow.
But they're like, oh, you still slept with her? And he's like, yeah.
Yeah, bro.
But yeah, that's like, because I was thinking she was going to be like a drop gorgeous model. Not that she's not attractive, but I thought to have that kind of like level of conning people, you would have to be like a model.
Yeah.
Because I know beauty, like we've talked about,
Yes.
there's like privilege that comes with being pretty. Mm-hmm. You get treated a different way. And
I was conned by beauty for a long time. We talked about this.
But anyway, yeah, so it's like, for her, I thought she was, I mean, she's not unattractive, but she's not like a model.
Yeah.
Status
You can get away with a fuckload if you're a good-looking person, and that has been proven by science time and again. And like I said, I was for many years, and yeah, here we are. So here we are. Okay, so it's easy. So then we got the myth of the she-devil, like I said, and why we judge female criminals more harshly. We are judged way more harshly. Exactly what you just said. Oh, she's ugly anyway.
Yeah.
Also, how could she? She's we're mothers, or motherly figures. So we couldn't ever be capable of creating or of committing these crimes or such depraved criminal behavior. The other issue is that, yes, men have been more serial killers than women in the last century. That is true. I have a screenshot I can share. But that doesn't mean that women can be overlooked for committing crimes as bad as murder all the way to conning someone. And again, look at Anna Delvey, look at Elizabeth Holmes. She's definitely a con artist. She got convicted on fraud, if I'm not mistaken. That was her actual final conviction. And it's hard. It's hard because I have been manipulated, and it's like, I understand that women can be put into so many positions where we feel like we need to gain our power through manipulating people, right? I get that shit real easy. But what I can't stand when people are manipulated who are so blindly innocent, because I was, again, once that person in multiple scenarios I've now mentioned. But I don't know, it just breaks my heart. But as I will end it, a psychologist said, women can kill too, and it's a deadly mistake to think that they can't. And I will add to that, it's a deadly mistake to think that we cannot con the shit out of you as well.
Is this your forewarning for all of us? You kind of had a sinister look on your face when you said that, just a little bit.
You know, I'm just gonna...
Was your small con when you called my spare bedroom your bedroom, and then you just slowly move in?
My in the door.
Yeah, so Krista, because when I have because I have a spare bedroom and a bed, and Krista always spent the night there, and she called it her room. So I'm now catching on to this long term con that's going on.
No longer, thankfully, but I do appreciate that stay. But yeah, that was it. That you figured me out, damn it. That was it. But that is what I have for the psychology of con artist and female lady cons.
Very nice. Well, awesome. Well, on Thursday, we will each be doing a con story on females, and mine is British.
Mine is not, but she old too.
Yeah, mine lady is old too. But yeah, tune in on Thursday. I think that's going to be a fun one. Tuesday, yes.
Tune in.
Tune in on Tuesday. It should be a fun one. And if you enjoy, please leave us a review.
Yes. Rate, review, subscribe. No con. Keep it real. Oh, Alice saying goodbye. Peace, Bewitches.
Peace. Thanks for listening. Check us out on Instagram or bewitchbanter.com. Suggestions for the show? Email us at bewitchbanter@gmail.com. Credits, music Phantom Fun by Jonathan Boyle from premiumbeat.com. Podcast edited and produced by Krista Hins and Amy Holt. As always, if you enjoyed, please rate, review, and subscribe.